Hi, I'm Dave.
Hi, I'm Robin.
Welcome
to School-Wide Download. All right, welcome back to School-Wide Download. Today we're tackling something that is might sound a little sci-fi. It's in the news a lot lately, and it's kind of a hot topic. So imagine a student sharing their fears with not a friend, not a teacher, but an AI chatbot.
So talking to AI instead of a person.
Yes.
Okay. I wish I could say I didn't know about this. I do. As crazy as it sounds, AI platforms are starting to get increased traffic. They're starting to document things about student interaction with the tool, which it's a tool.
Right.
Okay. But it raises big questions. You know, what's drawing students to AI and AI platforms for not an answer to a math problem, but for connection? And what does it mean for us as educators when it comes to building belonging for students in our classrooms?
Yeah, and what's it doing? What are we going to do about it as educators within schools? So I was really interested in this topic, so I read an article from Educational Leadership. It's a great magazine, and it was a September 2025 issue. And it was called Bots for Belonging. And immediately, of course, with what we're doing just in today with AI and all the things, sparked my interest. And so the article was by Michelle Culver and Allison Lee. And it basically is talking about students who are leaning on chatbots, not for the relationship piece or where our minds might go, but more along lines of getting advice. And so we're going to talk about one of the students that actually opened up about this. So there was a 17-year-old student, Amy, and she admits that when she started chatting with a chatbot, she kind of thought it was a little silly. And she then found herself getting good advice from this chatbot about just situational things at school that she was experiencing. And so I'm just going to read a small quote from her. She said, I started using I'm not going to name what she was using, as a joke. And she explained, but then one night I was jokingly ranting to it, and it actually started giving me good advice. So I was like, okay, why am I talking to this? But then she laughed and said, it really did help me.
Okay.
So let's talk about this.
So, as people have stated, this is the next iteration of we used to just ask Google for answers. What we have to be realistic about is this is a whole different story.
Yeah.
And I think what we have to keep in mind is the data that goes into producing these chatbots is designed to be soothing. It's designed to not be confrontational like your friend might be.
Very
or
true.
An adult or your parent that tells you the thing that you need to hear, but maybe that AI chatbot's not going to say that. But two realities come out of this. Number one, and I don't think that this is only in today's teens, but teenagers often go through phases when they're lonely.
Right.
Okay. You know,
teens go through a lot. I mean, they're going through a lot of things. So
I think in that article it said 40% of teens report persistent sadness and or hopelessness. Okay. So school environments are not necessarily always meeting the needs that they need for connection.
True.
So
another thing that I noticed in this, it was really interesting that personal social engagement within schools and outside of school, 125 minutes dropped to 42 minutes of personal social engagement with each other. So that's a huge drop. So if they're not connecting with their peers and friends, who are they connecting with? And maybe this is what they're leaning in on AI to talk about their feelings.
So what I'm hearing you say is it's in some cases it's more than just maybe being concerned or aware of a student using a lot of their time, what we loosely call it screen time.
Yeah.
That not only are they just possibly finding diversion in a game or something like that, but they could be interacting with one of these chatbots.
Yeah.
That is giving them advice.
And I will tell you, the article is not dark at all. It's really talking a lot about what we can do as educators to promote healthy relationships while still bringing in AI, because it's here. We keep talking about it. It's not going anywhere. How do we coincide with each other and still offer that social engagement in schools to maybe bridge the gap of this overuse of leaning into AI?
And I think it forces us to revisit what is quote unquote real world bonding. So there's cases and there's incidences coming out of being observant of what's going on with the interaction with these tools, that students, not just students, adults are having real world interactions with artificial intelligence. So, and the thing is, there is research out there that says interacting with a chatbot reduces loneliness. So it's not necessarily, like you said, it's not necessarily all bad news, but you gave the statistic a minute ago, but it's less socializing with real people.
Yeah. And so I also think about, like, people do so many other things virtually now. I think that after COVID, we just have gone to that space because we had to. And so I think that, students that are leaning into these chatbots, they don't see it as intimidating because they're so used to that virtual world. I mean, we taught virtually. They were on screens with us virtually. So when you're thinking about it, them typing on a computer or on their phone, it's very similar. So they're comfortable with it already. So
us being the adults, the teachers in the classroom, what seems, I don't want to use the word shocking, but just like this doesn't add up. Well, we're not necessarily the digital natives that they are.
Yeah.
So this is their norm.
It is. So that's why schools need to step in. Not ban AI, but reshape what belonging looks like. So here are some things they suggested, and I agreed with them. So one of the first things they said, restore schools as places of genuine connection. So think about that. That has kind of gone away, that genuine connection. Kids are on devices in classrooms. We're on the computer. We're doing so much digitally, which is great, but we need to make sure that students are feeling supported by real humans in the classroom, not just devices.
And that's not something that involves technology whatsoever.
Right.
That's stuff that we've been doing for years. That's meeting the students and greeting them at the door. That's asking them a question about how they're doing. That's if you have bus duty, that's making sure that you say a kind word before they hop on the bus. If you're like me that had probably 15 years of cafeteria duty, don't stand in the corner.
Yeah.
Go walk through the tables. Go have an engaging conversation with those kids. Ask them about something. They want to interact with you. And I do think if what you're saying, this article is suggesting we need to restore that connection, it's not that hard.
No, it's not. The next thing they said, which it's interesting that we kind of just had a conversation with some curriculum leaders, and we were talking about this a little bit, about just what AI looks like in schools, and it can be scary, but it's saying bolster young people's agency, creativity, and critical awareness of AI. So instead of shying away from the topic of AI, maybe ask them, what tools are you using? That's a real quick conversation in the morning or in the hallway. What are you using? How are you using it? What games are you playing that AI is involved in? Or what are you using? Some can be really honest with you. Maybe they're using it for homework. Maybe they're using it to help them.
Yeah, I think avoiding discussion sends the exact opposite message that we want to send. And it's students want to talk. I mean, a lot of kids, we just said they're digital natives. They enjoy talking about technology. They really value you asking them for your opinion. It's as simple as if you're using an interactive whiteboard and it's not working. When you ask somebody for help, in some kids, you just made their day.
Yeah.
So I think to avoid the discussion about this, once again, just mystifies this a little bit, and I think it sends the wrong message.
I do too. And we're so quick to shy away from talking about it because there's just so many things that policy. I know we're working through all this, and all districts are, and all educators are, and what is the right way to talk about it? Because, I mean, I don't know necessarily you introducing AI to your class and going that route's the best way, but just simply asking the question, how are you using it? So the third thing, use activities. So cultivate the will and skill for human relationships. So kind of playing that like AI effect game. So using AI in cases into categories like maybe using it for like support human connection, or it depends. It depends game. Using AI to kind of build that gap and bridge that gap of being able to use it as a way to share those human connections.
Right. And I think if they're turning to these tools, the worst possible thing that we can do is ignore and just, turn our heads the other way, so to speak. But have conversations with them. And once again, that innocent conversation in the cafeteria leads to the increased likelihood that they're going to have a conversation with you in the classroom. And then that's when you can say to them things like, let's reflect about this. Like, how did this tool support you? Or is this the right usage of this tool? And I think, once again, the stronger the connection you have with the student, the more likely that is they're going to engage you in conversation.
So a little reflection question, because I love to reflect back. But if you could change one rule or policy in school to help students connect better, what would it be? So thinking about changing one rule or policy to make it better, what would you want that to be? Well, go ahead.
No, you go first.
So, I'm just thinking, again, like you said, that student engagement piece and really getting to know the kids and building those relationships. I always had the best year when I really got to know my students and I built those relationships. So I liked knowing all that they wanted to share with me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another piece of technology that's been added to our purviews in the classroom. So I don't think it is. I think it's more powerful than things we've seen before. But I think the way to address it and the way to involve it in the conversation is no different than we've had other things included. So, I think when you're working on an assignment and you're concerned about, which is something we'll talk about in a different episode, but academic dishonesty, why not say, okay, so here's what we're going to do today. Here's your assignment. And say, do you think it would be appropriate or inappropriate to use this?
I like that idea.
To assist you.
Yeah. The other thing they said to reflect back on, what interpersonal skills do your students most need to practice? How could you use AI or not to explicitly build characteristics like empathy, conflict resolution, or active listening into your curriculum? So using AI to build some of these interpersonal skills.
Yeah, and then just toss into that in addition to, and once again, so hypothetically a teacher asks that question, maybe you actually engage with a tool and say, oh my gosh, how was that helpful? Oh, absolutely. Were they supportive? Oh my gosh, it was incredibly supportive. Now, when you have a conversation with your mom or your dad or your parent or your guardian or your brother or your sister, are conversations always that smooth? No.
Right.
And that's okay.
Do you think you'll discuss this at one of your future counselor roundtables? Because I do think that this is a topic. They are counselors. They're helping these students, and maybe how are they going to use AI? Or how are they going to combat this topic? Because they're going to see this.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Last year I did do a session with my counselors that focused on artificial intelligence. However, it did not have this.
Was it how they could use it?
This was more helping them as a professional.
Okay.
This is now a whole new thing that I think would be very, very valuable in us discussing about how do we handle and how do we support and how do we help students that are leaning into a tool to provide them things other than academic support. Yeah. It's actually, we're talking emotional and other types of support that their counselors' opinions and.
I would like to. I might join that one. I like that. Right. So here's something that you can try tomorrow. I think just simply asking your students just the simple topic of what AI tools are you using, if any. Just give an idea and kind of open up the conversation, not to go deep into what they're doing, but just to give them that, autonomy for you and them just to say, what are you guys using?
Well, I think you're once again showing to them that this is a safe place, it's a safe space to have a conversation. And I think oftentimes when you ask those questions, I think there's a little bit of fear, which sometimes is legitimate, like, oh my gosh, what are they going to say? But sometimes it's going to be things like, well, I use an AI tool to help me with my swing. I'm a baseball player.
Right.
So it's some of the things, and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I think we're always fearful. Well, I used it to help me write my last essay. That's what we're afraid is going to come out of their mouths. But then other things come out that are things we didn't even think of.
And for all you know, they've seen it in action themselves. Maybe their parents use it to help with a grocery list. You know, maybe they were at the airport and they saw a bot rotating around, checking people out in the store.
Well, and I believe if we give them that comfort and confidence to ask us and or significant others, then there's a much greater likelihood that at home a student's going to say, hey, I've got this assignment from my teacher. Do you think I can use this to help?
Right.
So in other words, it's not this secretive thing. Or before they leave your class at the end of the day, I know you gave this an assignment. I was thinking about using AI for this element of it, maybe to help me brainstorm ideas for the story that you wanted me to write.
And then they're using it the right way.
Yes.
We are shaping young minds. We should be the ones to help guide in the sense of if they come to you, you can show the responsibility piece of how are you responsibly using it.
Right. And I think on today's topic where we're talking about an emotional kind of a non-academic connection, then I think teachers need to start, and adults, not just teachers, but okay, when might this tool be helpful? When could this chatbot be supportive? How is that relationship or that connection different than it is with your best friend or your parent or something like that? So it's going to ask, and we always think, what do we got to work on with kids? Get them to think critically. I mean, just having this conversation is critical.
It is. So this episode's big takeaways. So students are finding connection in AI, and our job as educators is not to fear that. We are supposed to build belonging and help them make sense of the tech and the emotion. I used to always say, I used to call my class my family because I would make the running joke, you're with me more out of the year than you are with your family. And they would look at me thinking what are you talking about? But I'm think about it. You're with me 5 days a week, whatever, from 8 to 3:30. We are together a lot. So we always wanted to bring that sense of belonging within my class. And it's the same thing.
And so based on what you said, if you're fearful, well, I'm not knowledgeable about artificial intelligence. I don't know all of the latest tools. I don't know what's happening. You do not have to, because based on what we've talked about today, you can do more than you realize by making sure you have conversations with kids, having your classroom and conversations with you a safe place where they can ask things.
Absolutely.
So there are things that you've been doing if you're a new teacher, maybe for a little bit of time. If you're a veteran teacher, you've been doing it for a long time. Conversations, involvement, questions, just being open and accessible when they're in your space, 100% can help navigate this new environment, this new climate. So thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you on future episodes.
Let's stay curious, let's stay connected, and let's stay school-wide. Thanks. Thanks for joining us for another episode of School-Wide Download.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll
see you next time.